Hi, good afternoon, everybody. If you would find a seat, that would be great. We'll get ready to start our next panel. Well, our first panel, actually. We're really glad to have you here this afternoon. I see a lot of really familiar faces, some familiar faces and some not familiar faces at all. And that's just how Lafayette is to me. Whenever you go anywhere, you're going to see somebody that is familiar, somebody that intersects with your life in some kind of way. And so that's perfect for this afternoon's panel, which is we're going to be talking about the future of festivals. How many of you have ever been to any festival in Lafayette or a surrounding area? Yes. It's just part of our life. And we don't really need to explain it to anybody, but sometimes it's nice to stop and reflect on the festival. I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Jane Vidrine, and I'm here with ACA, and I'm working on this project right next door in the old Lafayette hardware store, where we are restoring the building and going to be building another building on the back of it to make the Louisiana Music Museum. Yeah, and this is, we're not holding our breath, but we're moving forward steadily. And most recently, we reached a very exciting milestone in our capital campaign, which was we got halfway to where we want to be. Yes. We've still got a long way to go, and we are looking for, the support in any way of members of our community to do that. I am mostly involved in curating all of the exhibits for the museum, and so right now we're in the process of trying to find the stuff, the hero objects of our culture, to sort of enshrine in the museum and yet make it a very playful, dynamic place where musicians can ply their craft and maybe even have a day job, those kinds of things. So if you're interested in the museum, please catch me afterwards. I'd be glad to talk to you about it and get you a little bit more up to speed. But this afternoon, I look at this set of people that's on the stage, and these are really special people. They have created and kept going Festival International de Louisiane for, not for all 40 years of the festival, which we just celebrated, but the person that's sitting in the center is Lisa Stafford. Yes. We just did a quick math problem and figured that Lisa has been the programming director for the festival for 28 years of its 40 years. So, yeah. And so she is going to be talking about how the festival not just evolved and how it works, but how it's changing and how it's reinventing itself all of the time, and some of the challenges that are present in the present day, and looking towards the future. So we as festival goers, we think it just happens in the streets every year, but this gives us a chance to look behind the scenes and to realize that there's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of volunteer work, there's a lot of global challenges, really, that face a festival like Festival International. And so I'm very interested personally to see where you see it going. So Lisa Stafford, and next to her on stage left is Cara St. Clair, who I was thinking about this morning, because Cara represents, to me, the generation of people, well, a lot of things, Cara, but the generation of people who never knew Lafayette without the festival, without Festival International. And so your perspective is really important because your generation is the one that takes Lafayette as it developed its cultural consciousness and now is taking it off to the future. So I'm really interested in what you have to say. And then we have Carly Viator Courville, who is the marketing director for Festival International, and she's going to be moderating the panel and bringing out the deep knowledge from these two other women today. So please make Lisa and Kara and Carly welcome.
Hi, is this on? Yes? Okay, cool. So 2027 is going to mark my 10th year with Festival International de Louisiane. And, I loved it before I started working there, obviously, but getting in there and really seeing all the mechanisms and all the love and the time and the energy from, people near and far and what goes into it has just amplified how I feel about the event, and I just appreciate it so, so much. I've learned a lot about all the hurdles that we have to navigate, and the stressors seem to only be multiplying each year. And today I have two colleagues with immense knowledge of the impact culture sharing has on us as humans, as well as the complications we face in the international music industry in order to keep bringing you the best musical acts here in Lafayette. So we've already met Lisa here, programming director for Festival, for nearly 30 years. And her role comes with an endless string of duties aside from just booking the music. So Lisa, if you just want to give a quick background on, some of the things that you actually are tasked with as our programming director.
Well, before I started officially working for Festival, I was a volunteer for probably about 5 years at the Saint-Dijon area, and I got really involved there because my children were in French immersion and young musicians, and so that's how I kind of came into the festival scene, was helping out and doing projects with Jane. Where did Jane go? Yeah, you remember that, Jane, way back then? But so then I started booking Festival after being office manager there for about 6 months, and they didn't have a programming director anymore. So in the early years of booking Festival, it was so much easier, you can imagine. I mean, it was easier in ways. I literally typed contracts and visas and stuff on a typewriter with carbon copies and faxing in the middle of the night, having to go to the office to make long-distance phone calls to other countries in the middle of the night. So that's how Festival was booked when I first started. And then I started doing a lot of visa work to bring these artists in, and it just over the years became way too much. It would be like a full-time job for someone that our festival, really can't afford. But so I trained some people at the Jazz Fest on how to do those, and I was working on visas too. And I even, like way back then when I first started doing visas, I had a friend, believe it or not, at the USCIS. We became friends over the phone. And you could actually talk to a person over the phone. And she guided me through when I was first learning this process. And she even came to the festival to see what it was about and offer her help on what types of visas we should be doing, like Q, which is cultural exchange, or P is for just entertainers, or different things like that. So, I mean, fast forward to the last few years, I cannot work with bands who don't have U.S. booking agents because it's so expensive. It's so terribly expensive for visas and CWAs and all these kinds of things that you really have to have a professional agent in the U.S. who's going to book an entire tour for you, like a 3 or 4 week tour where all of these astronomical costs can be offset, through many different venues. For instance, there's a band, Delgraz. I don't know if any of you saw Delgraz last year. Yeah, at festival. So, since I don't do visas anymore, I was working with Kara. Kara, I guess I kind of trained her, and then in turn she trained me because there's so many updates, but they can be done online now. And let me tell you what a hellacious... Kara, do you want to tell them a little bit about the visa application debacle? Well, first of all, I'll tell you about the prices, real quick. I mean, it's so expensive. And so what Kara did, I mean, we probably spent, before a band can even be paid to perform at the festival, between their flights, visas, CWAs, letters of consultations, all these things come out to be like $16,080 or something like that. That's before a band can even be paid. So I'll let Kara tell you a little bit about the whole visa process and the difficulties.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, first of all, I just want to say that I'm Kara. I've worked with, well, actually, honestly, I've known Lisa for a very long time. I think we both do the work that we do because of one person, and that person is Christopher Stafford. And every time I'm in a room, I'll say his name. Yeah. So I fell in love with Lisa's son, Cajun musician, fell in love with the French language, studied French, and through learning French, I had access to, I actually started working with a booking agent when I lived in France who worked with Lisa. And so I just wanted to make that connection, like why I'm here and why I got something to say about it. So yes, I've worked, on the booking side of things for a while now, and Lisa called me up, and she has a vision for her festival, and it was the 40th anniversary, which I just want to say, and Jane, she commented on this. It's funny to think of the festival as a millennial, because, Carly, we're millennials, and festival's a millennial, and it's like, I had that realization this year, and it's like, it's like we grow up with this festival. It's our sister or something. Anyway, so Lisa really wanted Delgraz for this past year, and so she hollered at me and she said, "You could totally do the visa application. I used to do it. It's so easy." And I was like, I can't say no. I can't say no to Lisa when she asks me things to do. I just can't say no, and I knew it was a skill that I was interested in acquiring and learning the process. And so Lisa really sold it to me as like a cakewalk, but I'm sure it was a cakewalk when you used to do them. Times have changed, and so yeah. Navigating the application process was, like she said, hellacious. This band, their name is in homage to Delgraz. It was a revolutionary freedom fighter from Guadeloupe. So I'm sitting here writing out their bio, knowing who it's going to be reviewed by, and that is our current government. And I'm like chomping my fingernails, wondering if they're going to get accepted due to the name of their band, like, bottom line. So, I was very nervous. doing this task that Lisa asked me to do. Not only because I want to make Lisa happy, but I just knew the anti-immigration policies that are now in place, and what a hurdle that would be for this particular band. Yeah, so I worked my tail off on it lovingly because I love the band, love Lisa. Actually, I just also want to say, I feel like Lisa discovered this band. Pascal Dene kind of reached out to Lisa. They hadn't done anything. We met him in France one night in Paris, and Lisa brought them to the U.S. for the first time and got him an agent, way back when. And so Lisa does more than just book Festival International. She sees talent, and she has a keen eye and ear for it. And well, you're welcome. Yeah, and so I don't know, where was I? Difficulties in the visa. I mean, yes. So, well, yes. So, yeah. So they make it hard, difficult, impossible. The bureaucracy, the red tape is so confusing. None of it makes sense. It's so lovely to hear that you once spoke to a real person at USCIS, because those don't exist anymore working at that office. So I did everything right. I did it so good. I looked over it 20 gazillion times. It was laborious, lots of time and work. Sent it off, and then the U.S. mail system lost the package. I know. Let's get louder, because I need some more empathy on that, because it was and like time was of the essence. I got there's an option to apply for the petition with concurrent premium processing, which is nearly $3,000, and it got lost in the mail. And we didn't have time to wonder and wait for it to arrive to where it needed to arrive to. So what I did is that, when I realized it wasn't going to get there, and who knows where it was, I resubmitted the whole thing again, and then I sent it as a duplicate copy. I sent it via gold-dipped FedEx. Paid $300 for that envelope to get there, and it got there, but the system counted it twice. And so right now I'm still...
You had a cover letter saying that it was a duplicate copy doing to the USPS, losing the first copy.
That's right. And so to me, what it showed me, it's like this bureaucracy, this office, they're not... I was so scared that we were going to get rejected, but then they accepted 2 of the same application. It's like you would think if they're so on it, they would flag it or delete it or void the second one that came in. And I communicated to them every which way I could of what happened. And yeah, I'm charged twice, upwards of $3,000 on my credit card, because they're incompetent. That's what it is. So the incompetence is wild and it's crazy. And so, but Delgrass made it. Y'all, whoever saw them, they rocked it. It was beautiful. Amen. When things happen, like when we have those victories, it's like the best feeling in the world, But there's I'll say that I think that specific example had to do with bureaucracy. There's a whole other part of this conversation that directly has to do with anti-immigration policies in place, and the lack of these banned country list. it gives like Lisa's menu, Lisa's options are cut to slim pickings. So when I see like when the lineup is released every year, and I see people on Facebook like boudet about why aren't there international artists? This is an international festival, and it's like, oh, we would love to, but do you know? Have you read how many countries are banned and cannot get into this country to play music for us? It's impossible. And one band that I think about recently, their recent, I think it was their spring tour this past spring. They had a full tour booked, a beautiful tour booked, and that takes so much time and effort to book a full tour for an African artist, and that artist is Tanarawin. And they've played here, and Tanarawin is like they are the Tuareg Desert Blues band. There's no one better. And I think they played, I remember it must have been like 2005 that I saw them here at festival. And the fact that these musicians who've played with Paul McCartney, like these are master musicians. Their whole year, maybe their whole 5 year, like they've lost out on work that they can never get back, and they've lost out on connecting with a community that needs that connection. Because, and I'll say this word, it's a scary word to some people, but this fascist government. You can clap. I saw you were going to clap. You can clap for it. It's terrible. It's heartbreaking. It's honestly heartbreaking. And Lisa has a recent example of that. You want to take it away, Lisa?
Yeah, for instance, Wesley, a fabulous band that's based out of Montreal. He's Haitian born, but he's been a citizen and lived in Canada his whole life. We had him booked for festival last year, and then we had to cancel at the last minute after a ban was put on travel to the U.S. for people for work visas because he was born in Haiti. So I've just heard from them again yesterday, and Kara and I are in the midst of research because this is all like brand new to us, but the ruling by the government to ban these countries was overturned or put on halt due to a lawsuit that came out of Rhode Island, and then so the judge ruled it illegal for them to be doing this to someone just because of their country of birth. And so, I mean, we think that there's like Wesley is going to go ahead and apply for his visa now and it's a big financial risk because there seems to be a small open window where it would get accepted by the USCIS, but the thought is that it's just a glimmer of hope and that probably the U.S. government's going to end up getting it reversed again. So we don't know. It's a wait-and-see game. I went to the USCIS website this morning to see the processing times. I mean, last year it's taking over a year to get a visa unless you do the premium processing fee, which is over $3,000 extra. Yeah, we call it the premium extortion fee, but it's really hard. So I mean, I'm behind him, and I hope it works. It's a little easier applying for visas through the American Federation of Musicians for Canadian-based artists than it is, to apply when they live out of the country. But what Kara was touching on just a minute ago, like there are people saying there's no international artists here. There are international artists that are truly from these countries and stuff that are based in the U.S. So I feel like and that's the kind of people that we're forced to hire right now. But they're still great. Just because they don't live in that country and they live here, they're still playing music from their country. So, and again, it's a lot easier to book artists who are based out of Canada, because it's a little less costly, and they have the support of the American Federation of Musicians to help them. So that's where Wesley, this group, is from, based out of anyway. So I still feel like, I mean, each year we are able to book artists who represent anywhere between 15 to 20 different countries. You know, I don't really care where they live. You know, we don't really have to fly them in from Nigeria or fly them in from Haiti or fly them in from the Ivory Coast. Yeah, some we still do, but we're not able to do that unless they have a U.S. booking agent to to offset all of those costs, is what I meant to say. What else?
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, that was some great examples. Like y'all said, a lot of people are like, book so-and-so. Why don't they book so-and-so? I mean, both Wesley and Delgres have performed at Festival International, and you wouldn't imagine that it would be so complicated to get them here again. But, you know, whether that's travel bans or insane changes on visas and application processes. And it's not just here, because France has their crazy taxes that their artists have to pay as well. So you take Delgres, for example. He loves playing here, and they like, what was it, $20,000 total to get him here. They walked home with about $4,000 to pay the band. And they pretty much just
And they pay 40% taxes in their country on what they make.
So they pretty much just came for love. But those are just, you know, two really eye-opening examples of why it's getting harder and harder to be an international festival that's all about celebrating cultures. It takes a lot of hurdles, a lot of insane work. Lisa's constantly on the phone to see how to make this work and catch bands that are already on tours so we can financially make it work, or she even helps them set up tours. So it's just a lot to navigate, and the task of actually representing diverse cultures, it gets harder and harder. And she mentioned a few ways that we're able to pull that off, such as if they're already based either in the U.S. or Canada, or if they already have a U.S. Agent. Did you want to add something? So our panel is here today to, as you see, explore the changing landscape of festivals, because they play such a massive role in the culture here. And so with the travel visas, funding in general, and other factors, what does the future of festivals look like for us and other festival cities out there? And as you see, we're discussing how to adapt and change with that. So Lisa kind of already went over some of the hurdles she goes through booking international talent. Kara, as a professional representing touring artists from around the world, what is it like keeping up with the travel bans and to meet the requirements for visa processing?
It changes every day, and that it feels like by design, fear, you know, instability. You know, like Lisa like got this email literally yesterday and was like, did you see, you know, the email from this law firm, Tamizdat, that does visa applications. And so we're always in touch about the latest. But as far as on, you know, the booking side of things, there is taxes. There is a 30% withholding fee, you know, that every foreign artist has to pay up to the government. to play here. So what we do is it's called we apply for a central withholding agreement, and so you have to do lots more paperwork to lessen that tax burden. That's right. That's right. Yeah. So every foreign artist has to have a CWA. Well, that doesn't have to have a CWA, but if they don't have a CWA, the venue, the presenter, or the agent must withhold and 30%, and that sucks. That's it. I mean, I get it. Everyone's got to pay. Everyone's got to pay their taxes, but it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking when it's nearly impossible to be an artist. It's nearly impossible to be a musician who's not from here to play on these stages. And so, yeah, it's a lot more work, but like I personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it is important. I think it is necessary. I think this festival, and I didn't know this until my stepmom got me that beautiful 40th anniversary coffee table book. Everyone should get it. It's gorgeous. But I didn't know that this festival started. The idea was, Lafayette was in the dumps. It was in a recession. We needed some revitalization. We needed money thrown and commerce and culture happening. And where did we look? We looked to our immigrant brothers and sisters. We looked to our international. We opened up our minds. So like this whole bootstraps philosophy that I always hear, Lafayette didn't do that. We invited people in, and so I'm sorry to bring it back to this, but I think it's really important. Not only as someone who works with the artists from a booking and a managing perspective. A lot of these black and brown artists are scared to tour the United States if they're able, and they're risking their lives and the communities that they represent, their lives too, so their audiences that come out to see them. And that's facts. Those are facts. And that's something that we have to talk about. That's something that I have to deal with. That's something that gets raised to me. These questions are raised to me from the artists that I work with. And it's hard to promise them safety because I can't. And that's really heartbreaking. That's really scary. And so what I want people to understand is that when you see these artists on the stage, they're literally risking their lives right now. And it used to not be that way. I know that sounds apocalyptic, but hey, that's the truth. That is the truth of the reality of what's happening. And so I hope that gives you some perspective, because they're bringing it their all. And in the back of their mind, they're fearful.
Hello. Just to touch on that a little bit more, it absolutely is a conversation that does have to be had, and it is something that they deal with and we deal with. And one of my questions for Lisa today was, well, I know the answer, but have we had artists ever cancel coming to the U.S. because they're nervous about, what they're seeing on TV, for instance?
No names mentioned, but one from Canada last year, and then I also work with a festival in Madison, Wisconsin, where they had a really big band that performed here the year before, and they wanted them performing at that festival, so I booked them there, but they canceled for those reasons. They were scared to try to cross the border.
Yeah.
So
with all that, I mean, there's just so many turbulences that go into planning an international festival, from things happening in our country, but also in other countries. Like, a war just broke out, they have to cancel a week before a festival, or there's already a war in our country, and like Daka Braka came to raise funds to help their country. So there's a lot that goes on when you're dealing with a global festival. And Lisa's done a lot of wonderful advocating and fundraising and helping our brothers and sisters around the world when they're in need. She's won awards for it. Like, truly. And then lastly, obviously, funding. Money is always an issue for everybody. But funding for arts constantly seems to be the first thing to be threatened, which means less music and art grants. It means less partners, sponsors, and donors for us when the economy dips. And this is not unique to our festival. It's something we're all navigating constantly. And really, you have to work together, have these conversations, realize and appreciate, festivals, Acadiana, for instance. I mean, they're putting on a free festival as well, and it's a scramble. And when things aren't looking great in the economy, we're all suffering. But like Kara said, Festival International was actually founded to boost the economy here, and I'm so proud to work for this organization because it worked. And it brings in millions of dollars, 300,000 attendees over the 5 days, all because of music and art. That's incredible. And we're celebrating cultures here. That's what it's all about. And all of these changes that are happening today really do affect that ability to celebrate cultures together. So we just got to hang in there and keep navigating it, and doing our part, having these conversations and seeing where we can jump in, even if it's a conversation, volunteering, etc.
And don't forget, the festival is free, but it is not free for us to put on. It costs a lot of money. And people keep asking us, when are you going to start charging? Probably never. Yeah, that was our promise from the beginning. Yeah, hopefully never.
Yeah, that is a funny question you wouldn't believe that we get pretty often. It's like, y'all don't pay the artists, do you? It's a free festival. And we're like, oh, wouldn't that be cute? It's about a $2 million budget. So as soon as one festival ends, we're already jumping back in there and resetting and seeing, how do we raise the funds? She's got artists. If she knows someone amazing is going to be on tour in 2 years, she's bookmarking that, already in touch, making offers.
I'll put holds on them, but I can't contract them. I don't even get my budget till after August for the next year. But when you are applying for a visa, like if it's a band I wanted to apply for a visa for, you can't apply more than a year out for a visa, but the visas are taking longer than a year to get. So what kind of sense does that make?
It's tangled up, and you have to untangle it and hope that it works. And I'm glad that's their job and not mine.
And it's always a financial risk. Huh?
I mean, I deal with grant schedules that don't make sense at all. It's yeah, how do you make things work when the schedule, where you get the money, where you apply to get the money is not congruent with when the grant is due and when your event is stupid.
It is such a mess. And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up about money is, the cost of living for everything has shot up, but there's so many things that you wouldn't realize that we got to pay for a festival in general, the infrastructure downtown, but also to get these artists here, to take care of them. And we really take pride in our Southern hospitality, because artists talk, and they say, this is our favorite place to play because they're so taken care of. A big part of that is the effort she puts in, but also the volunteers running everything.
Amen.
It's just this beautiful, organic feeling in the air, and they notice, and they talk about it to each other, and they love, love, love to come play here, and they really feed off the vibe of the crowd and just just walking down the street.
Yeah,
You
it's
know that from your artist.
absolutely. It's something to be totally, totally proud of. Because you're right. You know, I know artists who haven't been playing in a while. I feel like, and this would never happen, but I feel like they would pay Lisa to play this festival. I mean, I'm thinking of Ceux qui marchent debout. You know, they took. You know, they have all got day jobs in France, and they're like, we're gonna all take our vacation days so we can play Festival International, and it is something to be proud of that we do nurture a beautiful, welcoming spirit here, and that is something to be proud of, and it's something to witness. It's something beautiful, beautiful to witness.
I just got an email 2 days ago from an artist who performed here from Quebec, saying he's still on a high and he's never experienced anything like it. You know, the hospitality and the volunteer. I mean, he recognized everything, that it took a whole city and an army. And he's basically said it's just the best experience he's ever had. And he was, of course, begging to come back.
Love. You wanted to add something?
Well, yeah, and it's the beauty is that it's community volunteer driven, you know. So to be at the Artist Hotel and see the volunteers that have been working with the festival for years and years and years, you know, seeing old friends like artists who are playing again, and just seeing their reconnection. There's a lot of festivaling that maybe y'all don't see, but it's like stuff like that, just like people in the community who volunteer and who are solid, and they're at, you know, artist hospitality at in the hotel, and seeing those reunions with returning bands is really sweet, because where else would that happen? You know, where else could that connection happen? Yeah. And also, I think a beautiful thing about festival is our commitment to making these cross-cultural connections happen. So I know my boy Horace Strong's in the house, but yet to see him sit in with Las Cafeteras, a returning band, a beloved band, and us have so much pride for our local musician, like sitting in with a nationally touring artist, it's like no other. And so I think that is something to be super proud of. Lisa Stafford, Carly.
Yay. What was I going to say? Oh, one last quick thought. You advocate for your artists. You look out for them. You look out for people. What is a way that you think we could better support our musicians, you know, both the ones that are coming in to us here, but also the ones that we're sending out?
Yeah. So I'm just thinking about the ones that come here. Buy their merch. Buy the stuff that they have for sale. I forget what the merch policy is at festival. They 100%. Yeah, but they, you know, side stage, yeah. If you're at a free festival and you like a band, buy their album, buy a T-shirt, just put money in their pocket. Even if they don't have stuff to sell, give them money. It's like if you have some scratch to throw a musician and you like their stuff, do it. It's a cooler feeling doing that than spending a stupid money on a charcuterie board. I don't know.
The money is hard to come by for the musicians to go out on tour.
Oh, it's impossible. And this is how musicians go home with money. Merch. And something that I think that this community, as far as export, I'm thinking of all the bands here, you know, something that we talk about with the Christopher Stafford Foundation is this idea that we want to support artists who are touring. It's hard out there for a touring musician, and costs of flights, rental cars, it sucks. Hotels, We will be rolling out the grants in the fall.
It's a beautiful
Probably so.
initiative.
Yeah, yes.
Just keep your ears open and eyes open.
So Christopher was, a touring musician, and I remember him, coming home after a tour with $300 in his pocket, and he was excited about that. And I'm like, that needs to change. And how can we change that? Because honestly, when we export our music, people who don't like go on the road, they are telling people about Festival International. They're telling people about Lafayette. They're inviting them to come here. So we've got to invest in touring musicians from here. It is a relationship so intertwined. And so I think that will be a beautiful thing that Christopher Stafford's legacy will do.
Absolutely, and that's such a huge part of what Festival International is doing. We're bringing in the culture, but we're sharing our culture, and we're giving a platform to these musicians. And you wouldn't know this, but there's so many music buyers that come in just for the festival to scout our talent, and it's an incredible part of what we do. And there's so much to be proud of, and that makes us keep doing this, even though it's hard. We're a tiny, tiny team with all kinds of random tasks. But when we get out there and we see everyone smiling and the music filling the streets and these emails that we get post-festival and the way it affects all of our lives, I mean, I'm still living here in Lafayette because of this festival and the culture and festivals in general. And I know, Kara, professionally, it really, really seeped into you and has affected your entire career path, right? So, with all that to say, did you want to add anything else, Lisa? What is the most touching thing for you in your nearly 30 years?
Just the behind-the-scenes things.
She likes it.
I like to be behind the scenes.
It's beautiful.
And, just God and the friendships I've made, and just learned so much over the years, and, and having an open heart to other cultures without prejudice, and it just can enrich your life so much. I'm so lucky and blessed that I've had this job.
Yes.
It's the best.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we're so gracious to be invited to have these conversations with you all today and talk about some of the things on our minds. We're definitely not here to complain. We're here to enlighten so you can share the conversations with your people so that, we can all just kind of understand how this works and be happy and be thankful and show our support for this festival and other festivals and spread the love. And Bon Festival.
Bon Festival. When Sharon Jones barely made it to Lafayette, they were stuck in London due to the volcanic ash thing that happened years ago. And they got here just hours in time before their show. And she hopped out of the van, and she was so excited to be here. And she just asked for marijuana and fried chicken. And she was obliged.
The question is, what's the biggest
To expect
lesson?
the unexpected.
Don't freak out.
Be nice. Bite your tongue before you speak.
And keep your cool, because anything that's going to go wrong is going to go wrong, basically. Like COVID was just, obviously insane for everybody, but it was like...
That year, what y'all did with that COVID year, the virtual, it was so beautiful. It was so well done. I know how how much work it was, but it was something. You guys are listening to a need, and that offering, I know I remember watching it at home, and it was, in a weird way, was one of my favorite years. Is that wild to say?
It brought us together in a totally crazy way.
Yeah.
You know, we're all scared, but it helped us focus on something else and
And
navigate.
and the people who worked on those videos, you could tell they did it because they had a lot of free time. But you
almost
could
died.
feel because you could feel the love.
That was my little baby. But yeah, we had these people from other countries just send in videos. I guess we sent them a track, an original track, which was just a guitar track, and then somebody would send a video in where it was Sinkane from Sudan. And I remember just getting the video, like laughing, saying, how are we going to do this? Because, watch, hold this. Because the video was only like him with headphones on. Yeah. It's all going to be all right.
Oh my God.
But then when everybody like sent their stuff in
Around the world.
from around the world and we put this video together, it was just amazing.
Man, it was your idea. You were like, that's what we should do for the finale.
And Chris put it all together. Yeah, that was a big one.
But yeah, it was a great video. You should check it out. It's all going to be all right.
Uh-huh.
Sinkane.
I had a question about the number of artists. I believe I heard Lisa say that you anticipate having artists from 15 to 20 countries at the next festival.
Well, each year, that's an average
Okay.
of the representation of music, the origin of the music.
Okay, because
You
my
know,
question was,
okay.
what was, the comment was made in the context of all the immigration restrictions and issues that you're facing, which is very informative for me and I'm sure for others. But I was curious about maybe in past years, what was the highest number of countries that were represented? Any
We
idea
had
about
close to
that?
23 early on in my days when I started working here. I remember that number.
It just kind of depends on the tour cycle and who's touring, you know, that you're kind of held prison to. You know, you can't just go pick out this band from this country and this band just to come in, you know. Yeah, and who's doing well and who's, you know, new and up and coming, or who you can afford that's well established. That would be like a huge draw. Somebody like Salif Keita, or, you know, who's pretty much unaffordable these days. I mean, when you have a music budget of about $260,000 and you want to book one artist that costs $60,000, it doesn't leave you much money left to book your other, 85 shows. So, I mean, if you divide the number of shows we have by my budget, it's pretty.
And what's cool is even if it's only 20-something regions being represented, you know, say like from Quebec, we might have 4 bands coming from there, but they're completely different.
Yeah.
And the same with Louisiana acts. Like, yeah, you see they're from Louisiana, but gosh, they could be doing a number of different styles. Totally. Yes.
It's a wrap.
Oh, we gotta go by, but in general, ask us.
No, that's good. We're done. We said all the things, and thank you for listening again.
My name is Milton Arsenault. We just completed a documentary on Bill Zydeco. So my question is, one of the things that you mentioned, and I was able to filter through that, was that you mentioned the bands here locally that would perform, and they have scouts that would actually come to see those performances. So I have 2 questions. It's a 2-part question. The first question I have is, what's the curation process of the bands that you book locally for a festival? And is there some cross-marketing to try to get the local bands to perform international, where you may be recruiting bands to come here? Some type of like conversation to get our bands there. How do you curate that perform here?
Yeah, when just real quick, because I know we're supposed to stop. When we used to do LIME, which was the Louisiana International Music Exchange, we showcased music availability of bands, quality of bands, Cajun and Zydeco, because that's what music buyers would come to our festival to look for, not only international music, but local Cajun and Zydeco music. And so last year, so we stopped doing Lime around when COVID happened. It was the last. Yeah, it just kind of derailed us, and it took up so much time, and it wasn't free for us to do, and just, you know, bringing in all those music buyers and having to manage that whole thing while managing festival just became too much. But last year, somebody from Canada applied for a grant and started, it's basically like Lime, and it's called Connection Acadiana, Louisiane. And they basically got about a $40,000 grant to bring music buyers to Festival International. Yeah, Canada, you know, the place who supports their artists in a big way. But so I think last year, this past festival, there was probably 29 or 30 music buyers that they flew in over here, and they curated the showcases, because the lady who, you know, runs the whole thing spends a lot of time in Lafayette. She comes to festivals, Acadiana and Creole. She knows all the musicians. She's booked music from here over there before. But so she's coming back next year, and we'll be talking with the ACA and some other people to maybe bring Lime back into it. So there's more stateside people, because we had people from Switzerland, France, Canada. A lot of musicians got booked through this, and there were not. Highly suggested that there be Zydeco bands in there, but she didn't, because she said they were looking for only French-speaking, like Cajun bands, and I said there's plenty of Zydeco bands who sing in French, and so after the festival was over, she said what a huge success it was. She said, I wish I had only listened to you about picking some Zydeco bands to showcase, because the music buyers who came in saw all those bands performing at the festival, and they weren't an official showcase, but they're like, so she said next year, yes. So
I do think it happens like organically. Like, you know, I think a lot of agents, a lot of presenters just come to the festival because they hear about it, they want to have fun, and I think they see bands and they do business with them. So I do think, even without the infrastructure of Lime, or, you know, it just happens. Yeah, that's true. Okay, thanks everyone. Love you, bye.
Thank you all for coming to this session. I think there are lots of takeaways, lots of details were discussed, but the real thing that I'm taking away is that the mission is never lost. And so that will continue. Thank you so much.